everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Y'all Are Crazy Ranch podcast. Thanks for joining us this week. We are going to be talking about how our sports have shaped us in our life, how they're shaping our kids, and why we think sports are great for kids as they're growing up.
Well, yeah, we're also going to talk about how sports are a tool to help shape a person or your kids or yourself, and but should also be like respected and not become your life and consume your life.
Absolutely.
So
we're also going to be talking about how our past jobs have shaped us and why we think work is good.
yeah, work is great.
So first we'll start off on the sports segment. Do you want to tell a little bit of like your history in sports?
I started playing soccer, I believe, at 4 years old, I think it was. And that was kind of, I think, my first sport that I tried, and then just happened to just stick with it. And so played it from 4 to, I don't even remember, maybe 16 or 17, something like that. And eventually, I don't remember if I was 8 or 10, but I started playing club ball, competitive ball, the teams that you got to try out for, and then you travel and do the tournaments, and you kind of practice 2 or 3 days a week, and then tournaments and games on the weekends, kind of too much in my opinion now that I'm an adult, but that's what I grew up doing. And then in high school, played football, and then did powerlifting. That was a lot of fun. And I think ended with bowling.
True.
So bowling was actually a lot of fun. It was me and some of the guys on the football team. We decided to do bowling, and we were like, you know what? There's a bunch of nerds that bowl, and it was like, let's go out there as the as the athletes and the football players, and the nerds were like, you guys can't beat us in football or in bowling. And it was like, yeah, watch this. And we got better. At first we weren't very good, but then we ended up, I think, winning regionals and doing pretty darn good. But eventually when we got to like state,
is bowling a sport? Are we going to talk about that?
When we got to state, the nerdy bowling guys beat us.
They're really good.
They beat us. They whipped us.
They're really good.
It was fun while it lasted, but
anyway.
That was the sports. It was good.
So I started playing basketball around 3rd grade, which is kind of crazy because nowadays it seems like a lot of kids don't really get into sports until like 7th grade when school ball starts. But where I'm from being from a small town, like we started school ball in 3rd grade, which enabled us, by the time we were in 7th, we were already very good at playing. I probably started playing softball first as my first sport because I started in like t-ball. So I was like 4 or 5. And so I did softball, basketball, and then some cheerleading in high school. Played a lot of softball, but my main sport was basketball. And I played that from 3rd grade all the way up to my senior year, and decided not to play college basketball and ended up just playing intramural sports in college, which we'll talk a little more about that later. But that's kind of my sports history.
Yeah. So what lessons do you want to start off talking about with sports?
I mean, I think it's so important with sports for as you think back on your life and you think about how you want to incorporate sports into your kid's life. I think it's so important to not allow sports to become your identity. And for me, it was.
Yeah.
Sports was 100% who I was. I valued that I was the best athlete, and that the problem with that is when you don't succeed at the level you want to, you see yourself as a failure. So when you're used to doing well at something, for me, if I did not score a certain number of points in a basketball game, it would wreck my whole night, weekend, week mindset. Like totally just knock me off course because I didn't do what I was expected to do.
Yeah. It's definitely dangerous when that becomes your identity and consumes your whole world. And I think that's where, for us, our belief as the parents come in and teach our kids that that's not the point of sports. So I think it's right now, especially in America now, it's like you got online brackets, online ranking systems, Your kids' teams are all ranked. They're ranked across the state, across the nation. And, the point of all that is it becomes a never-ending and addicting thing.
It does.
And if you think you can never really it's just like there's always another level. There's always another something.
Right.
And it can consume you and consume your family. And you can look up and several years have gone by and your family's grown apart and you're not where you want to be. You're off track on your goals for your family and that kind of stuff. And so we've got to be very careful of that as parents. But I think that's our job to let our kids know that.
Absolutely. Sports has so many good things that it does. It teaches so many good lessons. A few of those are just the value of working hard, reaching a goal, putting in the work, the discipline to see a great outcome, teaching teamwork, teaching when you work for something, you can achieve it. So many good things you can learn from sports.
Yeah, because it ties into life when you graduate high school or college or whatever and you start a career. I mean, being in a career is a lot like sports. It's competitive. It's the best players win. The harder you work, the better you become at the skill and the job that you do, the more money you'll make and the more promotions you'll receive, whatever.
Yeah, I think when you're hiring people, like if they maybe say on their resume or tell you during the interview that they played a sport, it does make you more willing to hire them and give them a chance.
It does because, I'm a very competitive person and I want competitive people on my team. Business is super competitive. There's always somebody trying to take you out. Mark Cuban says that business is the ultimate, the ultimate full contact sport. And he said, somebody out there is working 24/7 to try to take you out,
That's
And
right.
so I want competitive people on my team that are used to battling adversity, working together as a team, playing for a championship, stuff like that.
Absolutely. And for us now raising children, our boys play football, baseball, and of course, you guys know they do wrestling, which is our favorite sport of all of them. And then our daughter does basketball, cheer, and she's doing track this spring. So that's kind of like our vantage point of where we're coming from.
Yes. And so discipline is a big deal that sports teach. And to be successful in life, you have to have good disciplines, right? And so we like that. And wrestling is it might be the ultimate discipline teaching sport.
There's a guy, I don't remember his name, but the saying is, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy.
Yeah.
And when you are a wrestling parent, you totally get that. Because when you watch your kid out there, struggling, overcoming adversity, and then winning. Oh my goodness. There is nothing better.
Yeah, it is the ultimate.
It is the ultimate. However, what you don't see behind this is how hard these kids work in practice and how disciplined they have to be with their diets throughout the week. Because as a wrestler, you can't hide behind your weight, which means when you slack off and eat sloppy, it's going to show up on the scales. And if you don't know anything about wrestling, brackets, depending on what you weigh, that's the bracket weight that you're in. And if you weigh a few pounds over where you should be, it's going to be a lot harder because you're wrestling kids that are heavier than you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is very much a discipline sport.
Yeah. And one of our kids is learning the discipline or failing at discipline more than others at the moment.
We got to tell this funny story because it just happened last night.
Yeah. Last night.
So we were in the hot tub out on the back porch, and we can see inside our boys' window, and their lights on. And we're outside and it's dark, so we can see right in, but he can't see us. We're not going to name names on which child this is, but he is sitting on his top bunk, and we're like, he is eating something. What is he eating? He's in his bed eating.
Yep.
And we had just told them, we try the week before a tournament to just eat clean. But then a couple days before, we try to have them eat really clean.
Right.
Because weigh-ins are coming. And if you're not eating clean, it's going to show up on the scale. And then you're probably not going to have a great tournament. So he's eating something in his bed.
He is. So I get out of the hot tub and I go bang on the window. and it scares him to death. And he turns around with like big old eyes, and he's looking at me.
And he knew we were in the hot tub. He just didn't know we could see him.
And I'm like, what are you eating? And he's got a bag of like caramel popcorn that he pulls out from under his sheets. And so I tell him to throw that in the trash and get back in the living room. And
he's doing it because his brother and sister are in charge in the living room, and his brother would call him out on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he would say, quit eating that junk. We got to make weight. So he hides.
Yeah. And so, but at the same time, you know, he wants to win. And on tournament day,
competitive of all of our
he's
children.
super competitive. And if he loses, I mean, he's crying. It wrecks his day. And it's like, I'm trying to teach him a lesson, son. If you want to win, winning starts before the match. I told him last night, you can't show up on Saturday and just win. You've got to prepare and work hard because there's other kids that are working hard. And, you know, you got to have discipline. You can't, the day before you're supposed to weigh in, go eat caramel popcorn in your bed.
Right.
You know,
and that's a great lesson because, like you said, winning begins before the match. Before you step on the mat, like that's where champions are made.
Yeah.
Champions are made. I like to tell the kids, champions are made when it's cold, dark, and no one's watching. Mm-hmm. So when they're outside doing their runs, when it's cold, it's getting dark early, or they're waking up early to run, nobody's watching that. Nobody's cheering for them. There's no fans, but they're getting stronger. They're getting more prepared. So when it's match day, they're ready.
Yeah. And like I tell him too, you know, they practice twice a week. And it's like, well, the other days of the week, you need to run. You need to do push-ups and pull-ups and keep yourself in shape. And you can't just practice 2 days a week and think you're going to just dominate on Saturdays.
Not as you get into a higher level. Like when maybe you first start in sports and it's more recreational. Yeah, you can probably get away with that. But as you get into a higher level, like we're year 4 now, so everybody's good. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody wants to win. So it comes down to, as you say, who wants it more?
Yeah.
And that's what shows you want it more. So we say this to say this goes back to life and goes back to work, because it comes back to who's putting in the prep work, who's actually working to build their business and not just putting out fires every day, who's reading books to grow in their personal development, who's spiritually ready for battle. Or are you just like putting out fires every day and not really working on and in your business?
Yeah. And that's that's one of the lessons to teach them is like, you don't get ahead by doing the bare minimum.
Right.
And when you grow up and you go to work, if you're just going to put in your 40 hours a week and not work on yourself outside of that, you're not going to get better or not you're not going to compete at a high level.
Well, you're just going to follow the crowd and stay mediocre.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want our kids to be mediocre. I know they don't either. And so these are just some of the lessons. It's like you said, if you're trying to get ahead in your field, your career, you can't just go home at 5 and veg out until midnight and go to sleep and then wake up at the last minute and rush out the door and get to work. You can't do that.
Yeah. And for us both being entrepreneurs, we have a very different mindset than most people because we don't work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We work all the time. Essentially, we've learned how to balance it and create a rhythm around it. But there's definitely not like, oh, I'm off the clock. I can't go do this. I can't go do that. I'm off the clock. Like we don't really have clocks.
No. But that's just what you got to do if you want to get ahead. And, and that's what you got to do if you want to win. And so I think that discipline side and our other sons are our oldest son, Bowen, has been super disciplined. He's really learning. I got to kind of try to dial him back a little bit.
The most disciplined child.
Kid's doing push-ups. Like he does 100 push-ups before school starts. And but now his younger brother, a couple brothers down,
our 7-year-old,
has been waking up with him and working out with him in the mornings.
He was doing sit-ups and ab workouts at 6:30 this morning when I got up.
Yeah.
They were in there doing them together. What's really cool about that, and we might have shared this story before, is Bowen last year got beat out at regionals. And that was hard for him because he's an excellent wrestler. But he got beat out and he didn't get to go to state. And he had to go watch his little brother Baker, go to state, along with a lot of his friends who made it to state. And I know that was hard for him to watch. But he showed up, he cheered on his brother, he cheered on his friends, but he said, I'm going to be here next year. I'm not missing this. And ever since then, oh my goodness, he has worked so hard, harder than any kid I know. He eats well, he exercises well, he is spiritually like in such a great place, reads his Bible every day. And he's like, oh, I'm going to be at state this year. Like, he's not missing that because he felt what it feels like to fail.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not failing again.
Yeah. It's neat to see. And, and again, if you think about it at a high level, it's not about world domination of wrestling. It's about the character building aspect and what it takes to be successful in life, because life is going to knock you down. It's hard. There's going to be adversity all throughout. And so he's learning that, hey, not every kid's going to wake up early and work out before school. Not every kid's going to eat eggs and not eat the donuts. Not every kid's going to then come home and go run. And it's like he's learning those things. So when he gets older in life, when it comes to his career or his family or what have you, or going to church, it's like he's going to have a work ethic that's second to none. And that's what we're trying to instill.
Yeah, I wish I would have learned that earlier, but I know when you're young, your mindset's different. But I wish I would have learned as a kid playing sports, like, hey, it really doesn't matter how many points you score. It's really about, are you putting the work in? Are you trying to get better? Are you being a good teammate? And are you glorifying God? Another Bowen story, which just shows his character, which I love. The other day before the tournament, he was like, Mom, I really want to get outstanding wrestler today, which means you get the most pins in your age division in the shortest period of time. And he's gotten that before, which is a huge honor. And I was like, hey, bub, that'd be awesome to get that. But the goal is to get first place today, which is just a great goal always. Obviously, that doesn't always happen, but like, that's our goal, And he said, no, Mom, our ultimate goal is to glorify God.
He's like, touche.
So it's
he gets it.
It's like the drum thing.
Yeah.
He gets it. And that is the ultimate goal, because in truth, life is short on earth. And our goal as Christians is to live our life to glorify God and take as many people to heaven with us as we can. Mm-hmm. And so if sports is your end all be all, like, that's not worth it. That's not where it's at. Sports are to teach the lessons, learn the lessons, and give God glory. And if it's dividing your family, if you're gone at separate places all the time, then it's not worth it.
No, it ain't worth it.
If it is, not growing your kids and it's actually like hurting them, it's not worth it. The goal of sports is to teach character building, discipline, to help them get stronger, to be in great shape, and to prepare them to be adults. That's what sports does.
Yeah, and it gives them confidence too. So we talk about discipline, then we talk about confidence. In life, you got to have confidence. In the workforce, you got to have confidence, and you can't be scared and timid all the time. And you look at Bowen now is leading a little Christian fish club thing at his school, and there was like 70 kids that showed up or something like that, and he prepared a sermon and stood up there and read it and stuff like that. And it's like that comes from him gaining confidence, and sports has a lot to do with that. And because in sports you got high mountains and low valleys. You winning and then you're losing, and you're winning and you're losing. And you're learning how to mentally handle all that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we see a lot of that in kids as they grow and as they're learning out there and in any sports. And if you'll let sports teach the lessons that it can teach, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And I see a lot of parents too, like, I think sometimes they make mistakes is they try to find every single, private lesson thing they can go to, right? And it's like, 5 days a week, you're either at your normal practice or you're at a one-on-one, private coaching, and then you're at this and you're chasing this team in this tournament. And it's like, what are you trying to win with that?
Yeah. And how far do you take it?
Yeah. And I don't know that parents even stop long enough to even ask themselves that question. They just get caught up in it. But if you stop for a moment and think about, what are you trying to win? Are you trying to be the best, basketball player in the world? It's like,
or
that's not worth it.
Even a college scholarship, like, is that worth it? Like, is a college scholarship really the goal? Because if it is, like, is it worth the amount of time and energy and effort and money that you're putting into it? Do you even want your kid to really go to college and play sports? I know for me, I had the opportunity to go to a couple different colleges. And by my senior year of high school, I was incredibly burned out on basketball. And I loved it, was consumed with it. But by my senior year, I was burned out. And so when I started looking at colleges, I was like, I don't even want to play. And that's what happens to a lot of kids at that point when they're pushed so hard through their life. They may not even want to play in college. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and with sports, we're trying to push our kids on the character side of things, not as much on the skill side of things. We're working on the skill, but the lessons it's teaching them is better. It's like Benaiah, bless his heart, he's not been the best wrestler of the group of boys, and but he's getting a lot better, and he kind of got thrown into open in the bottom of the age bracket. Anyway, it's a hard road for him this season, and he hadn't won a match all year.
It's been hard to watch.
And bless his heart, he's just trying, and it doesn't come as natural to him. But last weekend, he got his first win of the season.
Yes.
And then he folled up by his second win of the season.
Yes, and pins at that.
Yeah, but the whole time before that, we've had to coach him up on, on trying harder. And it's okay that you're losing. You're giving it your best. Did you give it your best? Yes, I gave it my best. And helping him battle that adversity. And then when he gets the victory, the seeing the excitement on his face is awesome. And that's such a good, analogy or whatever of life too, because you're going to go through hard times. I remember interviewing for jobs and getting told no, stuff like that. And you got to just keep pushing, and eventually you can get that victory, but they got to learn that you don't just go out there and just win all the time.
That's right. For Benaiah, he finally won 2 matches in a row with his pins, but he always is in his weight is very popular. And so it's like he always has huge brackets. And so if you get a medal in his age and weight bracket, like that's top 4, it's a pretty big deal. He has not gotten one yet this season, but when he got beat out last weekend, he was crying and he was sad because he just wanted a medal so bad. And I said, you know what? You are a winner today. I don't care that you don't have a medal in your hand. You are a winner because you worked so hard. You overcame adversity. And I am so proud of you. And I just loved him up because I just want him to know it's not all about a medal. It's about, are you trying your hardest and doing your best?
Yeah. And medals will come for him.
Absolutely. I have no doubt.
Yeah. So we've talked about discipline and confidence. And then I think sports too teaches you a lot of good character lessons. You learn honor and respect, sportsmanship. If you lose, you still shake the other person's hand, or in soccer, or maybe even some basketball and softball, you line up and walk, down a line.
Yeah, you do that in all of the sports.
And that stuff is good. I think later on in life, you're going to have things where people get ahead of you, or whatever the case may be, and again, learning how to respect the fellow opponent, if you will, but yet have healthy competition. All those character lessons and building lessons are very, very valuable.
Absolutely. Another thing that I thought about is when I played softball, I always was the pitcher. And I think, why was I always the pitcher? And I think the reason for that is I always wanted to be in control of the game. Man, when you're the pitcher, you have to obviously throw good pitches or you're going to just get walks, and your team's counting on you. So you are constantly under pressure. The pressure is on you, and I think it taught me to like the pressure and to not be intimidated by the pressure. And I think that's another thing sports can teach you. You know, when you're playing basketball and you're shooting free throws, like everybody's watching you. It's
Yep.
on you. You got to make those free throws. Wrestling, it's all you anyway, unless you're in a dual team. But it is you. You don't have anybody else to blame it on, you know? And so I think sports teaches you to be okay with pressure, to perform under pressure, and to not let pressure just scare you so much, which is great because once you get into real life, it prepares you that, hey, the pressure's good for me. Pressure is okay. I don't have to run from it. I know what it feels like to be under pressure and thrive.
Yeah, and learning how to handle pressure is because life gives you a whole bunch of pressure. You might be competing for a job and knowing that you're in interviews. I remember interviewing for my State Farm agency and knowing the amount of people and the candidates that were competing against me. I don't remember how many I had. Maybe it was 10 others, but I actually knew who they were, and it was really odd. But one of the guy that before the interview took us all to dinner the night before as like a group, and it was like that was a pretty odd thing. Do you remember
odd.
that?
I do remember.
And it's
that.
like I'm sitting at a big old table,
all your
right?
competitors,
And
You're all
wanted
competing
husbands
for the
and
same
wives
position.
we're all interviewing the next morning.
Was I with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like I'm looking up and down the table going like, I'm gonna take you out.
That is odd when you think
I'm gonna
about
beat
that.
you. And but it was my competitive side was like, I don't know why I'm sitting here at this dinner. This is dumb, but anyway, that was interesting. But it taught me that, hey, this is pressure.
Maybe they wanted that.
It's game on tomorrow, and I'm sizing up the competition, and stuff like that. But those are lessons you learn in sports, is dealing with pressure and going in there and performing under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. And then maybe it's you might have some stuff at church or your spiritual life or the devil getting you down, and you've got that pressure of trying to overcome bad mental challenges and stuff like that.
It's a lot easier to collapse under pressure and just say, I don't want to do this. I'm not equipped for this. Let somebody else do this. It's a lot easier to do that.
A lot.
But God didn't call us to collapse under pressure and let someone else handle it. He called us to actually put on the full armor of God and be a soldier for him, which means you're going to have battles. Not everybody's going to like you, and you're going to face adversity. And that's life, and it's especially the Christian life, because God called us to be different and to be a light in the darkness, and we want our kids to be that. So by putting them in situations that are forcing them to look beyond themselves and say, I can't do this by myself. I am limited. It's not all about me. And saying, God, you help me. You equip me. And when you allow God to do that through you, you're truly unstoppable.
Yeah. So I think, I kind of end it with this. If you're a parent out there that maybe feels like your life has become too consumed with sports, feeling like you can't keep up and your kid's on the best teams and the travel teams and all that stuff, and it's just stressing you out to the max. It's probably stressing you out financially and emotionally and stuff like that. I would encourage you to just think about what is the real goal here, and just use sports to teach lessons, and don't get so consumed with chasing the top of everything all the time. Realize that the lessons you're trying to instill and teach your kids, and the character building, the confidence, the discipline, and let that be your deal. We don't have our kids competing in all these travel. We couldn't do it. We have 7 kids. It'd be impossible.
We do all youth local sports.
Local rec leagues. And, we get asked all the time
Not really rec leagues, but youth sports, like through the town or through the
town,
school.
yeah. And we get asked to do other things, frequently, and we just say no. We turn it all down. Is it flattering then when they ask you? Yeah. And a lot of times, I hear parents say, ooh, my little Johnny got asked to go play on this team, and we're going to try to figure out how to do it. And it's like, hey, you don't have to do that.
Right.
You can say no.
And you don't have to compete on Sundays. A lot of times it's like, well, it's every Sunday, so I guess we'll just do it. You can say no.
Yeah, don't be scared to say no, and control your life and get what you want out of it, and don't let other people or outside forces control what you want to do. The sports is not You're not trying to get your kid to the NFL all the time. It's like you just want them to learn the lessons and go have fun and compete, enjoy the game. But you got to keep your family together. That's the most important.
That's right. So we're out of time today, but come back next week and we're going to be talking about part 2 of what our past jobs have taught us and how we have used those past jobs to help us with where we are now.
Yeah.
So end of part 1 today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned some things, and we'll be back next week.